And we're live on X.
We're live. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, man. This is so great.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, quick intro. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Enflux. We do a few different things. We do market making as a service, being our core product. We do OTC investments, and we also do execution services for VCs specializing in liquid tokens or semi-liquid tokens. Right, we've been for the market for a couple of years. I know Itzy here for about a year, I guess.
Yeah,
The last token.
time flies, man.
Yeah, time flies indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
You listed a lot of things that you guys are and that you do. There are a lot of market makers out there. I think your biggest value add is that you guys are like awesome people. Okay. It's like people are a big part of the industry, like finding the right people that are trustworthy and professional and are nice to work with, I think is like really like it's undervalued.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, people like to work with people, right? And I think the issue that we're having with so many market makers in the space is a lot of them are just pushing a software. They're pushing a bot that is gonna, at the end of the day, is gonna trade on the market. But what we see as market making being, it's an engineering to trade-offs, right? What type of trade-offs do you want to make with your market? Do you want to, build up your treasury? Do you want to have like liquid markets? What is it, right? And this requires human-to-human interaction, and you need to understand the specificness of the project itself, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is what we're pushing forward. That's why our faces are everywhere as much as possible.
And I think that's really important. When we started working together, the first thing that I asked you was, okay, where's your dashboard? Where's your platform? You said no, like we take a tailored approach. We want to learn the client's business. We want to sit with them. We want to understand. I mean, I guess it's similar to the approach that we take on the legal side, but like in order to really be able to provide them valuable market making as a service, you need to understand what their needs are. And you guys do a fantastic job at that.
So it's all about the context.
Yeah.
It's all about the context at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing an amazing job as well.
Stop.
Of course. Of course, I have to mention it. Of course, I have to.
Yeah. Tell me, like, what are your thoughts about like coming to conferences like this? Like, do you think that there's a real value add? What are the reasons that you come for? Is it just to meet people like me, or I'm saying like going along the same lines as like the personal touch, like.
Yeah. I mean, what we're seeing, it's 90% service providers. I mean, I'm a service provider. You're a service provider. So it's a good place for service providers to meet, to mingle, and to partner. I'm not sure if it explicitly has a pretty good value add. I would say side events are much more valuable compared to main events. But yeah, it's a place to meet. I mean, it's a virtual world we're working in that.
Yeah, true that.
I think if we have to quantify it from the perspective of ROI, it really depends. We prefer to the side events only.
The side events only, really?
Side events only.
So I found that there's more meaningful engagement here at the main conference venue, I guess, from a client perspective.
Yeah.
You go to a side event, sometimes like when you get drunk with somebody, like it's another level, but like you can only get drunk with one or two people.
Yeah.
If you pick the wrong people, it's a wasted night.
I guess it really depends on the business, right? If it's a very targeted one, if your audience is, like a handful of like 20 companies, right? And you want to snipe them off, you want to pick them up, having a private side event is much more valuable compared to.
But when you host a side event, you're competing with like 200 other side events.
Exactly.
And like
so
when people are looking for their side events for the evening, they're generally not looking at where am I going to make the most business. Yeah. It's like, where am I going to get the best phrase ranks and have a good time?
For sure.
So like you got to go big or go home.
You need to do private or go home, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah. Tell me about how are you guys doing? I heard that you're expanding the team.
Well, we're trying to expand. I've actually
how's that going?
Found it very challenging to find like competent people to hire.
Yeah.
I know you guys are also hiring, so I'm curious to hear how that's been for you as well. But just generally, like, I feel like there's two issues here. Number one, Gen Z are lazy ass fuckers. Okay. Right. We could curse on this platform, I think, right?
Yeah, amazing.
Gen Z are lazy. Like they don't want to put like, I remember when, when I got my legal, license, I went and I worked at the top law firm in Israel, and I worked my ass off. I was there every night until 2 a.m. And I knew that like I'm putting in the time because it's going to pay off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it did. Like it was the best and worst experience of my life. I gained, I learned everything that I learned, I use on a day-to-day basis, and it was a necessary step that I had to take.
Yeah.
Young people today, and I'm not that old, but like I feel like there's like huge gap between like my generation and like the generation just like 10 years younger than
What
me.
do you think is the main difference? It's like if you have
They just want
one thing.
I think that they're looking for shortcuts and everything. Like I see it with my son a little bit as well. Like he's like, okay, like how do I get rich quick? Like he's like wants to go onto Poly Market and just like he's like, there's just like a quick fix here somewhere. And it's a real issue. Like people don't value putting the work in.
Yeah.
And I think it's like so they want like a quick fix, get rich quick, and also that they're not thinking more than like one step ahead. So everybody wants to like make money, spend money. Nobody's thinking about like saving for the future. So it makes it very challenging to hire somebody because like I'm looking to hire somebody and invest a lot of time and money into them. Like I want to train them. I want to make them like really, really good at what they'll do. But I don't want to do that if they're going to leave in a year or 6 months. And like, they're not interested in becoming like really good at what they do. They're just interested in like working the least they possibly can and making the most possible
having the best ROI, right?
So
I've seen the same thing, and it is definitely a challenge. We have hired a couple of Gen Z, but the way we position them is, they're going to be focused on building up MVPs, which means something that works quickly, quick fix, shortcuts, And this is something that they're very good at, like finding the right tools, finding the right context, and just like putting something together and make it work. But from that point onwards, you get 90% of the work is to make it work right.
Yeah.
And this is what they're not so good at from my perspective. And this is where I kind of go a bit more Eastern Europe.
Yeah. And have you gotten success there?
Yeah. We're getting quite a few like engineers, we're getting traders there.
Interesting.
And I think this kind of Gen Z mentality is a bit delayed when it comes to Eastern Europe, and everyone is just like kind of hustling and bustling and it's like putting quite a bit of effort into grinding up and becoming the best version of themselves possible, at least for now, right? But I do still see that.
No, I actually that actually was a big eye opener. Maybe like the whole like Gen Z quick fix thing is more of like a North American European thing.
Yeah, I think so. I might be a bit biased, all right, but not really sure. I think one thing that we have experienced with hiring over the past months, like I've been like 60% of my time has been just interviewing people and like trying to find the best people possible.
It's a really big time suck, though.
It is. I had to handpick around like 20 people over the past like month and a half. It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right? We try to interview everyone like firsthand, face to face, like me and then the other co-founder as well, because we want like people that are vetted coming on the team.
Yeah.
It's a ton of work. And it's about the expectation management as well. It's a tough work. I thought it was going to be easier.
No, it's not. It's not easy.
What exactly are you guys hiring for?
So we're looking to expand in like a bunch of areas. We want to hire a couple junior associates. We really are growing. Like I think like Token 2049 in Singapore was like a big step up for us. And then in the interim period between then, we've been growing like at a fast rate. And I already see just like in the last 3 hours being here, like the amount of traffic that we had and like the interest in the type of services that we're offering, which are really unique, that there's going to be like a lot more work that comes from here as well. And then we'll just keep growing from conference to conference. Like I have a very clear marketing strategy that I'm looking at. So we need, you bring in more work, you need people to do the work. You want to keep bringing in business. You need to have, like it's like it's growing pains. So that's just on the legal support side of things. We're also looking to grow on like the office management side, looking to hire like a COO and also marketing. I want to hire somebody to like help us aggregate all the content that we're putting out, which is like not getting where it needs to get. Like I think we put out high quality content that nobody's reading.
Yeah. We just hired a team of 5 people for marketing.
Wow.
5 people.
Eastern European?
No. Maybe some of them. We have someone from Hong Kong. We have someone from Netherlands.
So you guys are really global.
Yeah. We're really global. I tried to list all the countries where we have employees, and starts from like Brazil, and then there's like North America all the way to like Hong Kong, and then Philippines, India, Morocco area, Switzerland.
Wow. How do you manage them? Like, it's like all the different time zones. Like, what platform do you guys use just to engage internally? Is it Slack?
Yeah, we just use Slack. I think we haven't put that much effort into organizing all of those people together because they've been self-organizing themselves, which is awesome.
If it works, it's awesome.
You just
make sure they don't organize as like start going on strike and stuff and demanding employee benefits and
yeah.
You don't want them to organize too much.
We give all the benefits, right? So what else can we give?
Cool.
Tell me a bit about crypto, Web3, and Tel Aviv, for like in Israel in general.
It's an interesting question. Like, Tel Aviv is like a tech hub.
Yeah.
Just for tech generally, and it's no different in crypto. Like, there's a very strong crypto ecosystem. However, nobody is building for the local market.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of innovation coming out of Israel, but not for Israel, for two reasons. Number one, it's a small market, so it's not interesting enough economically. Yeah. And also, the regulators in Israel are not very innovative. They usually just copy whatever the United States is doing. Okay. And since the United States has been like sleeping on crypto regulation, they haven't come out with any clear guidelines as to, what crypto regulation should look like.
Yeah.
And they've also been very inconsistent, like between all the regulators in Israel. So you have like the Securities Authority and the Tax Administration, and you have the AML Authority, and they've all had different policies vis-a-vis crypto. And then in order for companies to be able to play ball in a jurisdiction, the most important piece of the puzzle is the banks. And the banks in Israel, and justifiably, they say, look, we're for-profit entities. Like, if you regulators are not going to give us like clear guidelines as to like what we need to do in order to be compliant, then like I'm just not taking any money that is associated with crypto. And that's been their policy. Like, if they hear the word Bitcoin or any kind of, or crypto or blockchain, they're like, not here, man. Like, go take your business somewhere else. And it's unfortunate because if you can't bank somewhere, then you basically, yeah. So even if you're building for outside of Israel, but you want to bring in money from crypto, like, it's been very difficult. So we've had, pretty good success rate. I think like 100% working with our clients to bring in money. But it's been like really, really hard, like really, really hard. And it hasn't, I recently, I think, I don't know if I mentioned to you, I recently had SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce on the podcast like a month ago. And that was one of the things we talked about. I said, like, you guys did a terrible disservice to places like Israel, because by not putting out those clear regulatory guidelines, like other jurisdictions, which typically look to the U.S. as like a responsible adult, have just been like, fuck it, if the U.S. isn't doing it, we're not doing it either. And like, it's really been unfortunate. Like, I feel like you need to step up.
And put clear guidelines. That's
So I think hopefully we're going to see that in the very near future.
What do you think is going to happen with U.S. regulations? And I work with a bunch of projects on a day-to-day basis, and some of them come to me and say, hey, what do you think should be our go-to-market strategy when it comes to the States? Like, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think we should do?
Right. So like, to date, if somebody asked me that question, I would say, okay, your go-to-market strategy for the States should be stay the fuck away from there. But
that's what I was saying until like
right. But I believe that will change rapidly, but not yet, not so rapidly. Like, I think that they're actively working now to put together clear guidelines for how to build and approach the U.S. markets. But like, even when they have those guidelines, it's going to be a process, because I think the scariest thing is that like you open up the floodgates and then you have a lot of shit come in. And then all the naysayers turn around and say, you see, I told you so. This is why we said no crypto. So like, you need to have guidelines and you need to implement those guidelines. It can't just be like no crypto, all crypto. There needs to be some kind of middle ground. And I hope that they're working towards like putting together something that is workable and that companies will be able to come forward and register. But I don't think it's going to be as quick as we anticipate.
Yeah. I see quite a bit.
I just need to talk a little bit more.
Yeah, sure thing. I see quite a bit of risk also moving the business there, because as the government changes, those regulations are going to change as well. And although this year it could be very favorable for market makers, service providers like us, I can in 3 or 4 years down the line, it could completely snap.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you think it's worth taking the risk for either service providers or for projects moving to the States if the environment becomes favorable?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Why? Isn't that an inherent risk?
The US is a huge market.
It is a huge market.
And I think that
by the risk there.
No, so I wouldn't go today, but I would cautiously approach the US and develop a strategy, like be ready with a strategy to implement once there are clear guidelines.
Okay.
Like I know that we're doing that on our end. Like we're looking, as you know, we provide like global legal and regulatory compliance services and then work with local partners. We're looking to establish a much stronger presence within the United States because I believe that there's going to be, all of our clients that right now are blocking U.S. consumers are going to want to, as soon as the doors open up, they're going to want to be present with the United States. It's too big of a market to
I'll be there as well.
Yeah, so like, so that's one of the things that we're looking to hire a U.S. lawyer to have full time on the team. Right now we work like we work on like a project basis, but I anticipate there will be a lot of projects in the very near future. Strategically, like we're going to be at Bitcoin Vegas and hopefully, plant our flag in the US and look to expand our reach there, and for you as well.
Yeah, for us as well. We just need the guidelines. One more thing I wanted to ask you while we're on the topic. Let's say I'm a early stage project, right? I want to build my MVP. I want to do some sort of TGE. What jurisdiction would you recommend? How would you go about like mapping it out? What I usually say to those early stage projects is, hey, go offshore, build the MVP, and then move to wherever you want, like either MiCA or whatever else. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of capital, like trying to go into regulations for MiCA or for anyone else, right? So go to Cayman or go to St. Vincent or somewhere else. Like what is the framework of?
I'm going to give you like a really annoying lawyer answer.
What is it?
And it depends. I would say like if you're in an early stage project and you're looking to grow anywhere, then you should talk to my partner Yarden, who's like much smarter than I am and usually has the answers to everything. But there is no one answer that works for every person. It's never like anybody who tells you otherwise. Like I hate when people sell you on a jurisdiction. Like, oh hi, I open up companies here. Okay, that's really nice.
I think the question is more offshore or highly regulated to start off with.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that like the way Yarden and I generally present it to people is that there's two routes that you could take. You could take the kosher licensed route, or you can go down the regulatory arbitrage route. So you could either say like, I want to be active here, and then you obtain a license there, and then you can't operate anywhere else.
Yeah.
Or you could operate anywhere that there's no clear guidelines now, and then just not operate where you require a license. And then the problem with that is that like it's constantly shifting. When you have a license, you say, okay, I could do X, Y, and Z, and then you could do X, Y, and Z. And if you go down the regulatory arbitrage route, you can maybe do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J today, but tomorrow like B and then E are not going to be available, and you have to constantly have your finger on the pulse. And like the price that you have to pay if you mess things up is quite high. So like I'm not against that route because there are many people who just they can't obtain a license, and so like taking that regulatory arbitrage route is the only route that they have, and it's also generally much cheaper. And it opens up a lot more doors to you, but you have to be, really, really careful.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love.
But this is like no legal advice, no financial advice, and do your own research always.
Purely for educational.
Purely for educational. Crypto is a speculative industry. Don't trust anybody. Don't trust anything, and recognize you're going to lose all your money probably.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. This has been great.
Yeah, likewise.
And we should do more often. Come to Israel.
We'll do next
end of March. No, seriously. End of March is going to be a huge global event in Israel, the biggest crypto event of the year. It's being put on by Collider, which is a crypto-centric VC in Israel, good friends of ours. And I promise it'll be worth your while.
I'll be there.
All right, March 27th.
Amazing.
And we are live.
We're live.
Back again with another co-founder of Enflux, the only market maker you'll ever need to work with.
Thank you.
And we have here, I like to call him Jelle, but his real name is Jelle.
Exactly.
But like, I'm a very literal guy. I see a J, I'm just going to go for it.
I mean, most people think it's like yellow or jelly.
Jelly. Jelly. I feel like you should just run with Jelly. It's a good one, no?
Yeah, I think so too. So most people, when I hop on a call with them, they're like, hey, can I ask you a question? And I'm like, the name is Jelle. Because that's the first question they ask me.
Did you ever think of changing it to a Y or just...
No, but I sometimes wish my parents gave me a more English name because I'm working internationally and always people are like, hey, how do I pronounce your name?
Just say, I'm Jelly.
Yeah. I'll tell my parents that from now on my name is Jelle.
So my like legal name is Isaac and my Hebrew name is Yitzchak and my parents called me Yitzi. And like for years I was like Yitzi, Isaac, and then I went to work for like a global law firm, Linklaters, and the guy I was working with was just like, dude, like you have 4 different names, like it's really confusing, just pick one and run with it. So then since then I'm just Yitzi everywhere.
How do your friends call you?
Yitz,
yeah,
Yitzi.
Even there's no more.
Yeah, but it's just like people always have a hard time with it the first time they meet you. They're like Yitzi, like they can't really pronounce it.
Yep.
But then like it's very memorable. Or I just tell them just call me Hammer.
Hammer, that's also cool.
It's cool to have like a cool last name. Yeah.
How do you start a podcast, by the way? When was your first episode?
My first episode was February 2023 or 2. We're celebrating 2 years now. So we're in 2025. So yeah, 2023. And it was like, actually it was an amazing learning experience because like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I like,
what has changed from the beginning until what it is now? Except
so much.
for your skills in probably doing a podcast.
First of all, like at the beginning, I was like really struggling to get guests. And now I get really good feedback from the content that output that I have, and also like the caliber of the guests has gone up incredibly. We had SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce on a few weeks ago. We've had like some top founders in the space. We've had some like very influential compliance experts on the pod, and I think like it's also kind of like defined itself over time. Like initially when I started out, I was very interested in like emerging tech generally, so I didn't want it to be like a crypto podcast. It was an emerging tech podcast, and I was very bullish, still am, on AI. Unfortunately, there's just like way too much hype there, and I know it's funny that I'm saying that because I'm in crypto. But it's kind of developed much more as like a crypto podcast over time. And I think there's like a really fair mix of like degens, builders, regulatory and legal experts, and academics. I appreciate my academic guests, but I don't like them so much. I have like, yeah, I know, but I have an issue with like the theoretical. This is like a very practical space. Like you build and you implement, and it's like, and everything's live, and either it works or it doesn't work. Whereas academics are like theorizing.
I feel like they would get stuck in trying to like do too much research and never taking an action.
And in an industry that moves so quickly and is innovating at such a fast pace, and even when the regulation is like part of that innovation, because it's also developing in a very fast pace, like whatever paper you're putting out is not going to be relevant by the time it's out there, because like it's just everything is too fast paced. So I apologize to all my academic guests of the past and of the future, but it's just like I want to talk to builders. I want to talk to people who are out there innovating and putting things and creating things for us to use now.
It's sometimes a battle that me and Bell have where I sometimes try to like just do it and go fast, and he's like pulling me back and like, hey, let's first think about it clearly and actually execute. Maybe if it was up to him, we would go a little bit too slow. Maybe it was up to me, we would go a bit too fast. That's so that dynamic that we're having here.
Well, that's like the beauty of having a partnership, and it like you balance one another out. We have often conversations about that. My partners and I were 3 very, very different people. Like you couldn't find more different people like on politically, religiously, our approach to business, but like it's what makes us like a really, really good team.
Did you guys have like a natural separation between the divisions or the departments you guys?
Yeah, like we have like our strong points. Like Sam does banking and Jordan does regulation and I do the commercial, but we all do a little bit of what everybody else does. And I just think like as like a team, we work very well together.
I think in a way everyone needs to have that base level on all aspects, but it doesn't need to be a 10 out of 10, but you need to have 2 out of like say 5 aspects where you're a 10 out of 10, but someone else is a 6 out of 10, but they can talk with you.
Right. So I always say like I could like fake a conversation in like your Den's field up to a certain point. Then I'm like, dude, come and like say something that actually makes sense. But like I know enough about like his side of the business to be able to like talk shop with somebody, but not to be able to advise like on a deep level.
But it's also good because then you don't interfere too much. It is like, hey, I'll just come in whenever you need some advice or like a second thought, and I can give it. Otherwise, I'll just fuck off and let you do your things.
Yeah. How about you and Val? Like, what is like? How do you guys distribute the work between you?
I mean, obviously, he's doing the legal stuff with you guys more than I am, right? I'm as much as I do want to understand what's going to happen. I often sit down and be like, actually, I think you have had done more due diligence and know exactly what needs to be done versus me as kind of like just coming in and now giving advice without too much.
That's the quick and dirty aspect of your side of the business. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You just want to go and run with it.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, especially when it comes to legal, I need to understand how does it impact me as an individual. But I believe that he, understands what the impact has on the business. And I trust him to do that properly.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's definitely handling more of the tech side. I've always done a bit more of the trading strategy side of things on the tech. So really going into the code. But if it's really about like scaling up systems, that's where he's way stronger. But we also have a CTO right now that handles everything like that. But he's more overseeing that part of the business. I'm more on the trading and client management side for the market making. He's doing OTC. I'm handling a little bit more on the marketing, at least direct contact, but he's very much involved because it's about like how do you position yourself as a company.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sales, I would say, we do kind of like together. When it's more about market making sales, it's more me. When it's more OTC or liquidation sales, he gets way more involved. So that's where we have kind of like an overlap. But outside of that, we have a clear split of kind of like responsibilities within the company.
I love that.
And ideally, it's you work with the people that actually handle that fully. And as I said, then you get out of the way and let them do their thing. But otherwise, it's like if we have to make a split and if we were heads of departments, that's how we would probably separate it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
So like I discussed a little bit with Val yesterday, but I'd love to hear it like from your side of the business as well. There are a lot of market makers out there. What sets you guys aside from everybody else?
I think most of the projects that work with us either have had bad experience with market makers that I couldn't trust, or want to be a little bit more hands-on and have like an in-house market maker, right? Almost that really collaborates with them. I often say market making is about, or adoption is about fundamentals, marketing, and liquidity, but they all impact each other. So you cannot just have standalone algorithms running there. It's really about the way we collaborate with them, advise them. We understand that we're no experts in legal marketing fully, but we have an opinion on how to do that. So it's really the collaboration and the transparency with the dashboards. And I think in a way, we're just nice people to deal with as well. Because that's like,
I think that's what it comes down to. Like, and I really do. I think it comes down to just being like good people, trustworthy, pleasant to work with.
And one thing I've seen, and I don't know if you've seen the same, but I just said transparency, but it's kind of like a buzzword these days. Like 2 years ago, we mentioned it. Flowdesk went over to transparency as well. You see Aris out there, transparency, ethical, integrity. And I think it's about like,
it's not just a buzzword. Like, I really think that in the end of the day, it's your certificate of authenticity and like, if you're transparent, then you don't have to be like, trust me, bro. Just be like, trust me, bro. Like, just if I'm all out here,
But it's about like, we got to tell it or show it and talk about it, because just putting it on a website doesn't say much about like how you do things and really put it out in the public. And that's at least what we got to do. We got to own the word and actually live up to it.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. You guys seem to be doing a good job. And any of our listeners out there who aren't yet working with Enflux, now is the time to reach out to Jelle or to Valentin, both of whom are I'm going to tag on this live feed when we're done. And if you're here in Hong Kong at Consensus, come and meet them, hit them up on a DM. They're great guys, and they'll do a great job working with your team.
Appreciate it. Can I ask you one more question?
Please. Yeah, go for it, man.
So, what we're working with you guys on is kind of like some restructuring, right? And as a founder, you might make mistakes early in the days because you want to be fast. Like, what are some of the things that you see mistakes founders make early stage that they wish they've done differently a year?
Well, that's the biggest mistake, I think. The biggest mistake is thinking like, well, yes and no. Okay. Like on one hand, I think people make a lot of mistakes because they want to go quick and dirty and just get started, right? Like I have somebody who wants to invest money in me. I need to be able to have some kind of structure that I could take that money in. You know what? I understand that. Like you need to be able to move and you do what you got to do. On the other hand, in this industry specific, it's one of the only industries where in order to just put your foot in the game, you need to really have a lawyer or a compliance expert that you at least advise with at least a rudimentary level. I always tell people, you know, our services are not cheap, but at the very basic level, advise just to understand like what's required, even if you don't want to implement it now, okay? Just so that you know what your roadmap should look like, okay? And then you could like pick and choose based on your cash flow or your risk appetite, but at least know what you're getting yourself into. And in order to be able to do that, you really need to just like take somebody like us on to learn your business and to like help you create a roadmap. Like you see behind us, I don't know if you can see the whole thing, but like our motto is build responsibly. So in order to build responsibly, you kind of just need to like take the time to think a little bit beyond that first check that you're going to bring into the door. And I'm not belittling it. Like you need the money. You know, a lot of times these young founders are like leaving job security to go out and to start these ventures, and nobody wants to do that with, you know, and to be fully exposed. So they want that money in the bank. And in order to do that, they sometimes have to compromise on other things, but sometimes it ends up costing a lot more down the road. So
it's
build responsibly. That's all I could say.
But it might be more expensive to do it later down the line. It is more.
It's always more expensive.
Yeah.
But it might be that you don't have a choice. Like it might be that you don't have that 10K or even 5K to do that initial analysis. You need to get the money in the bank, and then instead of paying 5K, you pay 15K down the line or whatever it is. But you didn't have a choice.
But in a way, that 5K today is maybe worth more than that 15K in a year when you need to put it down. So
yeah, but tell that to somebody who's at that stage. Like they don't see that right away. So like those are the mistakes. But like I don't know that if I was in their shoes that I wouldn't make those same mistakes as well.
I mean, they should probably listen to your podcast and dig down into it. Right?
Yeah, but again, like sometimes I like to put myself in like a founder's shoes, and like I don't know that if I was an early stage founder who was just trying to like hustle, that I would be rushing to engage my services.
Yeah,
because hindsight is 20/20, but you don't see that at the beginning, right? Now, just like, okay, I'm hustling, man. I'm hustling. Like, do I really need these lawyer guys? Like people have no problem engaging with service providers who help them make money. We don't help you make money. We help you save money down the line. We help you stay, you know, out of jail and like
I mean, it's a tough sell in a way. What selling is all about, they say, right? It's like building a gap between what it is right now and like what it could be, or in building that gap as big as possible, and like making them feel like, hey, if I don't do anything now, it's going to cost me a shitload of money later.
Right. But again, like this, like saving money down the line and making money today are two different things.
I know.
So I'm not judging. Like anybody who's in that position, like I totally get where they're coming from.
Yeah. Cool. Where are you guys heading in the next year with the company?
We're like growing massively. I mean, I discussed this with Val yesterday. Our biggest pain point right now is just like hiring good people. And I actually like, I just had like an epiphany because I was talking to somebody the other day. It's hard hiring like people like that are going to provide us what we need right now. But I recently met a guy who changed my entire approach to hiring. He's like, whenever I meet good people, I just hire them. I don't necessarily have something to do with them right now, but I want good people working for me. So hire them and I find out what to do with them afterwards. And I think that there's definitely something to that. Like in the end of the day, yeah, like there are certain roles I'm looking to fill and I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So like, I'm not sure that like it's going to be so easy for me to find the right people to fill those roles. But like, if I meet somebody and they're really good at what they do and they're like, just like good people that you want to grow with as a company, because we're really looking to grow and expand like massively, like both in like our global presence with like boots on the ground. Like currently we work with local partners. We want to have our own people in every key jurisdiction. I just want to like hire good people. So like we've like recently offered two local partners that I'd like to work with just to come on board with us like on a more on a deeper level, because like these people want to grow with. That's kind of the direction that I'm hoping to go in.
Do you feel like you guys are proactive on hiring or more reactive?
It's a good question. We are proactive currently, but overwhelmed in how much time and energy that is requiring of us. And so we've taken like a little bit of a step back because it's a really, really hard process. Like we put out a job post and just got like inundated with offers, and then to take the time and effort to review each of those potentials and to get back to people who are not relevant and people who are relevant to take them to it was just like super overwhelming in the amount of time that it was consuming from us. And then so we're kind of just like figuring out this process.
I think mentally as well, because it's so many small decisions. You know, first applicant that just puts their resume out there. It's like, are we going to go with it or not? What is the bar that we set? What skills do they need to have? And then you have 5 decent ones. Which ones are you going to cut off?
Yeah.
So many decisions that you need to make and tedious.
And then you're not working while you're doing that.
Exactly. And it's stopping the business. We at some point thought about hiring like a hiring manager, recruitment manager in a way. And I think right now we outsource it, you know, with a VA mostly to go through like the hard recruitment.
That's something else that we're trying to hire.
Yeah. That's the thing. But it helps a lot, though.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt that that's the way to go. It's just like, yeah, even that is part of the process, you know.
Yeah, but I like that you say like at some point when you come across talent, you just gotta hire them, because
just hire them and figure out what to do with them afterwards.
Yeah, or the best thing is they will also figure out what to do and how to grow the business
because they're those type of people.
Yeah,
exactly.
One of the struggles that we're having right now is finding traders, because the competency is quite tough. The requirements are hard because traders need to understand markets. But our traders also need to communicate with clients. You either get a really good account manager that can talk to clients very well, but cannot trade.
They can't trade,
or you get
a trader who's like has like bad bedside manner, so like he doesn't know how to engage with the clients directly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have found a couple really good people, but it's hard to find them. And you go through like a bunch of conversations. I'm in calls for like a whole week, and then you might find that one person, or sometimes in a week you find 0, and you're like, is this a waste? And then not, it's just part of the process.
Yeah.
Struggles.
It's a learning process, man. And we're all trying to go through it, and it's part of like the growing pains, and it's a necessary evil. Like about like 6 months ago, I had a conversation with Jordan, and he's like, we need to start hiring now. Like, I don't know, like we're not there yet. We don't have that immediate need now. But he's like, we're gonna get there. And when we get there, we're gonna be overwhelmed by like the amount of workflow that we have and the amount of time it's gonna require. And I should have listened to him. Because that's exactly the problem now. And like the longer you wait, the more workflow there is, the less time you have to hire, the more you need to hire. So it's just like, it's a catch-22, but we'll figure it out.
And then training is the other part, right?
Training, that's the other, you know, I have no issue. In fact, like I'm excited at the notion of investing time and energy in training people, because I want people that are going to grow with us over time. Problem is, people don't want to grow with you over time. They want to come, they want to make a quick buck. They want to use you on their resume to get to the next rung in the ladder. And that's like where I'm finding it like the most difficult.
But I think that's where leadership and kind of like, you know, the company brand comes in, that it hopefully fully align with what you do.
That's a lot of stuff you got to be doing.
I think that's what it takes.
Yeah.
But you cannot do it alone anymore. Like it was me and Val in the beginning, just the two of us for like the first, I think half a year minimally. We added a couple people, and it was busy. Like you're on 24/7 because the market goes 24/7. You could be called awake, and now we have a team for every department, which is really nice. So you offload a lot of stuff. And
but
now
you still need to like micromanage to a certain extent, just to make sure that like, unless you really trust them implicitly. But new hires, you can't trust them.
No. But ideally, the new hires, they go under kind of like the head of the department. They train them, and I come in kind of like as a knowledge base that they can tap into. But I want them to come to me, and we make sure that the ship is going in the right direction. They make sure it's going forward as much as possible. And when it needs another push, we'll come in as well to kind of like accelerate that in a way. But it's just making sure that we're actually making sure that the ship goes in the right direction, so that we're going the right way.
Dude, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing great.
It's good.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me.
It was awesome.